The Action Sequence Builder allows a user to create, edit, or delete an action sequence. An action sequence is a sequential list of actions that ensure a task is completed from start to finish, as long as each user simply completes the actions that come to them. Another way to word it is workflow automation. For example, if a prospect decides to do business with a firm and is going to transfer assets over from management in the market, the user would add the new action sequence, New Client AUM Workflow. Once that happens, members of the team will get actions in a logical order to ensure that the process gets completed without any task falling through the cracks. The Action Sequence Builder will be packaged with default action sequences that any firm who purchases the AC9 software can choose to use, edit, or totally replace. The simple concept to understand is that for any business activity that a firm might enter into, an action sequence should be in place to ensure that the firm never misses anything and that tasks are completed in the most efficient way possible. Often there are miscellaneous one-time activities that don't necessarily need a sequence. For that, an action sequence with just one step titled Miscellaneous Service Request or something to a similar effect can be in place. This way, any user on the team that needs to complete the task will have an action in their CRM with an appropriate due date and a note explaining what needs to be done. In this tutorial, we will discuss how to create an action sequence, edit an action sequence, and delete an action sequence. But first, let's take a look at what a single action within a sequence looks like. Begin by clicking any of the action sequences in the left box. In the middle display box, the user will notice a list of actions that make up that sequence, and that the topmost action is highlighted in light blue. Directly below that list of actions, the user will notice another box that describes the highlighted action. First of all, there is a description with a short line of text that describes what needs to be done. Below that is the action tutorial, which is a more in-depth explanation of how to complete the task. Scrolling down, days till due is the period of time that the user would wait before completing any action in a sequence by default. Almost every action in the whole system has a default of 0 days in this section, which means that when an action comes to a user, the due date of that action will usually be the same day the action was generated. For example, if a CSR or customer service representative starts the sequence and sends an action to an advisor, that action will be due the same day it was sent. If in the action sequence builder the days till due was set to 2 days, then the action that was sent over today would be due in 2 days in the advisor's pending actions. Likewise, assign to is the default setting for whom an action goes to in a sequence. Anytime an action is to be passed on, the user can specify who it goes to right after completing that action, but the default setting will already be in place if no changes need to be made. That default setting is driven by this box, Assign to. Right below that, there's a box titled Attach. This box allows the user to select a genre of material that might need to be attached to any action. The choices are Action Sequence, Call Script, Email Template, or Call Without Script. What this means is that once the current highlighted action is active within an actual sequence, that action will automatically have the selected attachment. So for example, anytime an action is designated to have the user send an email to a prospect or a client, the appropriate email template can be attached to that action in the Action Sequence Builder, so that when the user gets the action to email that contact, the email can go out by simply clicking the email button on that action, and the template will automatically generate in the body of the email on the next page. Alternatively, if the email template was not attached in the Action Sequence Builder, the user would simply have an action instructing them to email said template without the convenience of just hitting the email button. The same would go for any of the attachments. Another example is attaching a call script. Once the appropriate call script is attached to any action in the Action Sequence Builder, the action to call a contact in the CRM will have the appropriate script attached to it should the user want to use it. Once the type of attachment is selected in the Attach box, the user can select the specific attachment in the box directly to the right of that. Below that, is a yes or no toggle button titled Send to Calendar. If this is selected yes, then when the action is completed, it will be logged in the user's CRM calendar. This is appropriate for actions such as setting appointments, meetings, and the like. Underneath all of the fillable boxes of the action, there are 4 buttons. Create New Action will wipe all of the fields in the lower half of the action description box out, allowing the user to create a new action from scratch. Hitting Save will save any new information input in this way and populate that new action above in blue along with the rest of the single actions in this sequence. Clone this action will clone the action that is currently selected, and that will be populated above in the middle pane. This is helpful when an action sequence has multiple steps that require the same action more than once. Delete action will delete the selected action from the action description box, thereby eliminating it from the sequence. Let's have a look at the box on the top right side of the screen. This is where the user can arrange the order of the actions in a sequence and ensure that the correct sequence of actions is put together. This is referred to as the action sequence tree. By clicking and dragging any of the actions into another